Welcome back to Franchise Hockey Manager 10 with the Montreal Canadiens Return to Glory. And just a recap on what happened in the 2033-2034 season, right off the bat, we ended up hitting the wrong button and all chaos ended up happening. The first thing that ended up happening was we hit AI Setup Organization on July 1st, which is probably the most colossal mistake that I could have possibly ever done at any time, because then our AI then shipped away everyone for nothing. They traded away Genesech, who was on a very good contract, mind you, 2.7, which we had for 2 more years. Gave him up for a second. He is, well, minimum he's 3-star, but I think he's a little bit better than that. He was one of our anchors on the bottom line there. And then the second thing that ended up happening was Prudhomme then got shipped off as well, for a second as well, which we obviously got nothing really for him. But a second is not nearly what he's worth. And he was on a decent contract. Let's go back, actually. His contract was, well, he had 1 year. I think we just extended him to around like 3.5. And then he got shipped off, so then he didn't get to accept it, really. So we could still see him again next year. But it was kind of upsetting that happening. And then the kicker, St. Louis getting shipped for a 5-star player, getting shipped for a goddamn second-round pick is to a rival also is the most criminal thing that could have possibly happened. And then we got Knutson, which probably won't see the light of day. We had him for 3 years for 2.6. You got to be kidding me. And he was great for us last year. So, I mean, 52, and even in the playoffs, I think he was very good as well. Just, yeah, 18 points in 22 games. So we shipped him off for pennies on the dollar. So that was the first upsetting thing that ended up happening. But I mean, I guess it's kind of good because now we can kind of see how well our guys that we molded do well on other teams, and we'll definitely take a look back every single season to see how well they've done. But then we end up trading for rights like Beatty, trade away some of our other players because when we're a little bit upset, we just decided to do that. He has potential to be either a 2.5 or 4, but so far at 19, he looks pretty decent. We end up grabbing him for pretty much them and then picks as well. Third round, second round, and Poulin and Moreno, and then we end up getting the rights to McNally for Krivenos, Hampson, Weber, and North. Just kind of going all in this. Does look a little bit better than what he is, but we end up getting him from the Sharks as well. I thought he was going to be a little bit better than that, but not so much. And then Popov, we end up getting for Randolph, Bennett, Carmody, a 4th and a 6th in the other drafts. He is potentially 5-star as well, but we'll just have to see how well that progresses. And then, yeah, he was 11th round pick. They grabbed him, or 11th overall is what he was supposed to be, and he got picked at 2nd. So we just kind of went a little bit more all in than what we normally would have, because Rudolph was pretty good, Bennett was also, and Carmody was pretty decent. I think Randolph had 4 stars. Then we then ended up getting the rights also to Hollis as well for Rubric and Kashyyyk. Rubric, see, I don't know why they didn't ship away Rubric instead of St. Louis, because his contract was a bit high. So we got him for $5 million, and we gave him up for a prospect. Who could be good, who could be bad. He does have 4.5 potential left wing there as well. So we'll see in 3 years if that ends up progressing. But he might not even play for us, so we don't even know that. And then we end up having to ship away Ottinger for 1st round. All this was just done by cap, so I don't really understand why, if we need to make cap, because we were sitting at 93 million, and that was without even bringing up all our youngsters here. So that was kind of the disappointing part, is I don't know why they wouldn't have tried to ship our goalie or anything like that for that. So currently this is what our cap looks like. Our cap in the first year, these are the players that we end up having. Frollo we might have to extend as well for next season, but we end up getting Devon Levi for pretty much nothing for 2 years, 2 million each year. Not too bad. He's going to be starting for us probably And then hopefully Ivan Kovic can kind of start moving into that role because we do want to see a little bit more of him. And we'll see if it was all Ottinger or if this team actually was built for everything. Frollo there as well. But these are the current lines that we're deciding to go with, where we have Fyodorov, Celebrini, Suzuki. I think it's going to switch again once the season starts, because I think well, you know what, let's just click a couple buttons and then see what ends up popping up and see if we're still going to be one of the favorites to win this season. I kind of doubt it, but I mean, this is more so just to see how well the players progress than necessarily how everyone else gets on. All right. I don't see the season preview here. Let's see. Okay, we don't have anyone for waivers. Oh, Julian, except for him. And he didn't get picked up, so that's at least some silver lining there. I don't think we see the season preview until later. We might miss it as well. We'll do a AI setup as well just before, but we did come in just below the cap. We still have maybe a couple million in the bank, but I don't know, it remains to be seen. All right, season preview. We are still appear to be the favorite, so that's good. So it wasn't just relying on our goalie, but with Devin Levi, it still fixed everything. We still have harmony issues, so we'll end up doing the lines here and see what ends up happening. And yeah, currently the lines are, yeah, Fedorov, Gunnarsson, Frollo as our back, Slavkovsky, Suzuki, and Ikonikov, Pearson, Celebrini, and Carlson as our second line, Cole Caulfield, Benson, and Demidov as our top. So Benson's now our top center there, and Celebrini now coming on the second line, which is pretty exciting. It is nice to see. One of the players that we could have got rid of was Suzuki, but obviously I couldn't do that. He has to retire as a Canadian. Same thing with Slavkovsky. So there's no matter what, even if we end up getting screwed on the cap, we still have to make sure that they can still play with us and retire whenever they want. It's either going to be this year or next year. I find Suzuki will leave. And then we have Gustafsson, Stranad, Bernhoff, and Lundqvist, and then Sharp and Huang, which is pretty much the same as before. And then you have Levi and Ivan Kovic as our D. So we are probably around like we're around 4 million just below the cap. So we could find ourselves grabbing a free agent if we really need to. But this is more so again, ooh, that would be kind of cool. Kotkaniemi. No, that's not happening. Yeah, so we'll end up fast forwarding to the end of the season, and we'll see how well we turn out for this first season here. So after the first regular season, we end up finishing in first in the Atlantic, but in the whole NHL, we end up finishing third. Edmonton finishes first, and Columbus ends up finishing second, first in the Eastern Conference. And Chicago actually doing pretty well as well. They end up finishing in fourth. All these teams end up making the playoffs, obviously. And then let's look at Calgary. Calgary ends up dropping a little bit. Ottinger ends up barely being 500, but they were a rebuilding team, so it does kind of make sense. But they did have a hot start, and he was killing it for the most part. So let's take a quick look at the players that we end up losing and see how well they end up doing. So St. Louis is going to be the first guy that we're going to look at. And St. Louis finished with 55 points in 82 games. So around the same that he's done for us, but now he's a 4.5 star. 5-star potential, so that is pretty crazy. Lambos also still doing well. He's 31, and I forgot that we traded him to that team. I think he might have signed, actually. We traded him to, and he made the All-Star game too. Jeez. So a lot of the players that we end up having end up doing pretty well. Let's take a look at the other players for for our franchise. Rubric. Rubric ended up getting 69 points in 81 games. Geez, he was definitely worth the 5 million for St. Louis. So we'll take a look at how St. Louis is doing a little bit later and see if they made the playoffs or not. And then Prudhomme with Red Wings. Prudhomme ended up grading a 66. He got around 32 points. All in all, pretty good for him as well. So we know that that draft pick's going to be trash as well. And then Oilers with Genesech, he ended up getting 39 points in 60 games, which is around the same that he ended up getting with us. But obviously the hometown or the discount that he ended up getting is worth it for sure. Let's take a look at the NHL and see how well the other teams end up doing. So St. Louis didn't make the playoffs, so he did very well considering. Cole Caulfield ended up getting 43 goals and 94 points. So that's definitely what propelled us to do very well through that. We'll take a quick look at our history. Jake Oninger, unfortunately, we ended up trading him before he could break the record, so Carey Price is number one. So that is the only bad thing that I would say that we've done to one of our former players, because I feel a little bit bad for that. Cole Caulfield currently just hit the 1,000-point mark for our team and 500 goals for our team. He is currently in fourth. He's tied for fourth. So another season or two, and he's going to be our franchise leader over Maurice Richard, which is going to be insane. I can't wait for that. And Suzuki, in terms of points, he's probably not going to make it. He's not going to end up making the top four, unfortunately. He is still... He might make like top 5 or top 10 or whatever. But Demidov also making a case for himself. 594. He's very close to being Plekanec. We'll take a look at the playoffs after and how well he's doing for that. But we'll take a look at it much later. Currently, Cole Caulfield, 94 points in 82 games, 43 of those being goals, and 10 power play goals, 22 power play points, which is insane. Demidov didn't really get too many goals. A huge drop off from last year, where he ended up having a career high of 37. He ended up getting only 23, but he loaded up on assists. Benson doing very well at the top. Just a little bit worse than last year as well, as Slavkovsky with 60 points. Just a little, he's just slowly progressing or regressing a little bit. And then Celebrini getting a little bit more points as well. Gunnarsson doing pretty well. Pearden, who's one of the guys that we ended up getting last season for our last season at trying to compete and stuff like that. This is more so just a simulation. Him doing pretty well. 48 points, but the grade is around 67. He's more of a defensive player anyways. And Vernhoff with 47, and then Huang right below him with 46. They have been very close in terms of their career. Let's take a quick look to see who's doing just a little bit better. 351 total points, and I think I just did him. 351, yeah. And then we'll take a look at Huang right underneath. So 351, and then, okay, 391, but I think he's played more games than Vernhoff, at least a full season. So Vernhoff might end up being a little bit better in terms of the defender, in terms of points, but Huang is just lights out for us. And then we'll take a look at our goalies as well. 34 wins for Levi, 20 losses, and then Ivan Kovic, 15 wins, 8 losses. Goals against are pretty similar, and then save percentage is almost identical. Obviously, Ivan Kovic is a little bit better, but we've kind of split it up as much as possible. We didn't want to have the whole team kind of getting too tired and stuff like that. But we did lose a decent amount of games towards the end. I think it was more so, I think it was March that we ended up dropping a decent amount. So we lost, 1-1, lost. Yeah, so we're a little bit everywhere there. We could have probably solidified. No, I guess we did pretty well. We did solidify the top, but we ended up winning it the last game, because Panthers couldn't win that one. But I don't think we could have caught Edmonton. Edmonton just on fire this season. I think it's going to be think it's going to be Dreisaitl's possible one of his last 2 years, and same thing with McDavid. McDavid signing for another year after this. And then I just saw Bedard's extension. So anyone that's curious about how Bedard's doing, he just signed an extension for 14 million over 6 years, which without the cap going up every year, that's going to make it very hard for them to get anyone else. So we'll quickly fast forward to the end of the playoffs and see how well we fare for that. And the champion for the 2033-2034 NHL season is unfortunately the Chicago Blackhawks. We managed to go up 2 games, but then they won 4 straight on us. And unfortunately, yeah, Bernard gets his third, I believe. I think they've won 3 in a row. Or not 3 in a row, but 3 in his tenure. We'll have to take a look at the history right here. And yeah, he's won. This is his third, so we still have one on them, and we at least have another finals appearance. But taking a quick look at how well we did in the postseason, we ended up facing off against Toronto. First off, we won up 3-0, only to then allow them to come back in the series, give them a little bit of hope before we end up knocking them out in Game 6. And then we end up facing Florida, who end up beating Detroit before, which is probably better because Detroit probably would have beat us. We had a hard record against them throughout the season, but we somehow came away with it against Florida and won 4 straight games, so it wasn't much to it. And then we then faced Philly, who took out the top team in the East, which was Columbus. So as soon as they end up beating them in Game 7, we end up making easy work of them. We kind of had an easy pathway towards the finals, only to have it undone by Chicago, who ended up beating Colorado first 4-1. They managed to go to Game 7 against Nashville, which would have been a better series for us. They ended up winning Game 7, and then they beat Edmonton in Game 7, which would have been interesting. It would have been, I think there's only been, we'll go back to it after, but I think there's only been like 4 or 5 champions since we ended up starting the save, and Edmonton is one of them. So they end up knocking out Edmonton, and then it looks like Connor McDavid goes home empty-handed, and then we end up going up 2 games only to lose 4 straight. But looking at it, currently Buffalo has one. So the first year that we did it, Ottawa won. Minnesota then won, and then we had Edmonton who won. So we had, 4 there. So I guess there's only been 6 since. And then we won 3 straight. Blackhawks won 2 straight. We interrupted them by winning the last one, and then Chicago just beat us with this one, unfortunately. But let's take a look at how well our team did in the postseason. Demidov didn't do as well as what I would have expected, but 21 points in 21 games is pretty good. But sometimes they do a little bit better in the playoffs. So I think if he ended up having a little bit more points there, obviously we would have won. Cole Caulfield 18 and 21. That's a bit disappointing considering how well his season was as well. Celebrini somehow always knows when to turn up in the playoffs with 17 points in 21 games. Benson getting 16 and 21. And then all the way down here, Suzuki only played 10 games, only getting the 1 goal. So he's pretty close to retiring. We know we're going to have to keep him, like I said at the beginning of the season, despite anything. But he is 34, and he is aging rapidly. He was only a 60 throughout the whole season. Playing 65 games, being a healthy scratch for a number of them. But we'll look at about our history and look at how well playoff-wise our players have done. So Cole Caulfield is our franchise leader, and it's not even close for postseason. 189 and 193 games. That is number 1 in that, and then Suzuki is top 3 for that. So some recognition is definitely warranted for that. They played only 1 game difference. Demidov also in the top 5 with 138 in 161 games, and then Slavkovsky with 127 in 168, and then Benson also in probably around the top, almost in the top 10 here with 123. But we'll look at the goals. Cole Caulfield beating Maurice Richard for 88 goals in 193. Obviously, Richard did in a lot less games, but it's still a pretty decent record. And then Suzuki in the top 5 with 63 here. And then Slafkovsky probably top 10-ish, top 20-ish, I would say. And then let's look at the assists. So Cole Caulfield is currently 8 points away from assist leader in that, and he'd only have to do it in 10 games to be able to beat Robinson there. And then Demidov is inching his way close. He is top 5 currently, and Suzuki is top 5 as well. Slafkovsky also in that conversation, and Benson is in top 10 territory there, which is pretty interesting. We'll take a look at goalies as well. So Oninger is the wins leader, and it's not even close. Is he the shutout leader as well? He is the shutout leader, and overtime winner. Yeah, overtime wasn't that much of a thing. Save percentage. I mean, Ivan Kovic did pretty well. I don't know if he played for us this season. This might be something we might want to reconsider if played. No, he just played the 7 minutes, so nothing really having it there. But pretty interesting. Leaderboard is pretty close for regular season as well. And still on goalies there. And we're looking forward to seeing if Cole Caulfield can manage to get in the top 3 in terms of points and get into the top. Well, he should be able to get in the top 3 in terms of goals. But our alumni list is definitely going to look a little bit different at the end of next season. Let's just hope. So thank everyone for watching, and then we'll go into the next season and do the same thing that we've done. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Please leave a like or a comment if you want to see more on this. But thanks everyone for watching, and until next time.